Hare Krishna, devotees and Nathanam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudhapada Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha नमः विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्नति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. Okay. After Shravanam Kirtanam, let's do some Vandanam with our prayers. Shri Govinda Damodar Stotram. Anybody would like to sing today? Reading verses 31 to 40 by Shri Bilva Mangal Thakur. It's the same meter for all the verses. So, anybody? Okay, let me recite today then. Hopefully we can hear from your lotus mouth over the next few days. But yeah, I encourage everybody to sing along while you're on mute, because I always say these prayers are very powerful and they have the power to purify our senses, our mind, and our intelligence, so that we can move from the realm of material modes to the realm of transcendence. Okay. Akruramasadhyada mukunda chapotsavaर्थं मथुरां प्रविष्टः तदा सपौरे जयतीत्यभाचि गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति कंसस्य दूतेन यदैव नीतौ वृन्दावनन्तात् वसुदेवसूनौ रुरोदकोऽपि भवनस्य मध्ये गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति सरोवरे कालियनागबद्धं शिशुं यशोदा तनयं निशम्य चक्रुर्लुटन्त्यः पथि गोपबाला गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति अक्रूरयाने यदुवंशनाथं संगच्छमानं मथुरां निरीक्ष्य ऊचुर्वियोगात् किल गोपबाला गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति चक्रन्दगोपी नलिनीवनान्ते कृष्णेन हीना कुसुमेशयाना प्रफुल्लनीलोत्पललोचनाभ्यां गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति मातापितृभ्यां परिवार्यमाणा येऽहं प्रविष्टा विललापगोपी आगत्य मां पालय विश्वनाथ गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति वृन्दावनस्थं हरिमाशु बुद्ध्वा गोपीगता कापि वनं निशायां तत्राप्य दृष्ट्वातिभयादवोचत् गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति सुखं शयानानिलये निजेऽपि नामानि विष्णो प्रवदन्ति मर्त्यः ते निश्चितं तन्मयतां व्रजन्ति गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति सा नीरजाक्षिम् अवलोक्य राधां रुरोद गोविन्दवियोगखिन्नाम् सखी प्रफुल्लोत्पललोचनाभ्यां गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति जिह्वे रसज्ञे मधुरप्रिया त्वं सत्यं हितं त्वां परमं वदामि आवर्णयेथा मधुराक्षराणि गोविन्ददामोदरमाधवेति 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 हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे श्री गोविंद दामोदर स्तोत्रम की जय। श्री बिल्वा मंगल ठाकुर महाशय की जय। श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। Anybody would like to take up the service of 31 to 40, reading the translations?
Yes, Prabhuji, I can.
Yes.
Can I read, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Dandvat pranams, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, all glories to Prabhupada. After Lord Mukunda had met with Akrura and entered Mathura to attend the ceremony of breaking the bow of Kamsa, all the citizens then shouted, Jaya Govinda, Jaya Damodara, Jaya Madhava. When both sons of Vasudeva had actually been taken out of Vrindavan by the messenger of Kamsa, Yashoda sobbed with the house, crying, Govinda, Damodara, Madhava. Hearing how the son of Yashoda, who was but a child, was wrapped within the coils of the Kaliya serpent at the pond, the cowherd boys cried, Govinda, Damodara, Madhava, and scurried down the path. Seeing the lord of the Yadus proceeding towards Mathura upon Akrura's chariot, the cowherd boys, upon realization of their impending separation, said, O Govinda, Damodara, Madhava, where are you going? Are you actually leaving us now? At the edge of a lotus forest, a gopi lay down upon the bed of flowers, bereft of Krishna. Tears flowed from her lotus eyes as she wept. Govinda, Damodara, Madhava. Being severely restricted by her mother and father, a lamenting gopi entered her house, thinking, now that I have arrived home, save me, O Lord of the universe, O Govinda, Damodara, Madhava. Thinking that Krishna was in the forest, a gopi fled into the forest in the middle of night. But seeing that Krishna wasn't actually there, she became very fearful and cried, Govinda, Damodara, Madhava. Even the ordinary mortals comfortably seated at home who chant the names of Vishnu, Govinda, Damodara, and Madhava certainly attain the liberation of having a form similar to that of the Lord. Seeing Srimati Radharani crying from the pangs of separation from Govinda, the blooming lotus eyes of Radha's girlfriend also filled with tears, and she too cried, Govinda, Damodara, Madhava. O my tongue, you're fond of sweet things and are of discriminating taste. I tell you the highest truth, which is also the most beneficial. Please just recite these sweet syllables, Govinda, Damodara, and Madhava. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Shamakaruna Mataji. Yes, sweet, very, very sweet syllables when we recite the names of the Lord, just like how the disciples of Srila Prabhupada were feeling yesterday when we were reading Srila Prabhupada Lilamrit and Prabhupada was singing the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and the invocation prayers, and they could feel the sweetness, the love, and after a while they just lost themselves. They felt they are not in this world anymore. They were on a different realm, like Prabhupada said in that explanation. I think Meenakshi Mani shared the link to the video or to the audio of the first recording. And yeah, like it says here, the ordinary mortals, like at least me, comfortably seated at home, even when we chant these names, certainly liberation is guaranteed, right? So what to talk about beyond liberation? Of course, we aspire for going beyond just liberation, but that is certainly guaranteed. But yeah, all the disciples of Srila Prabhupada yesterday, continuing from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrit, they recorded the first album of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra at the studios in the Times Square in New York City. And yeah, it was wonderful to hear that later yesterday, the first recording and also the explanation that Srila Prabhupada gives about how this transcendental sound vibration moves us beyond the sensual, the mental, and the intellectual planes onto the transcendental realm. Right, so it was very nice. Okay, so we'll continue. So after the recording, I think Prabhupada is now coming back home, back to the Lower East Side, or back to Godhead, as we say. Okay, anybody would like to read today? The next morning, we are starting from here.
I can read, Prabhuji.
Yes, please, Mataji.
The next morning, Prabhupada didn't get up. He was exhausted. Kirtananda, who was personally serving him, became alarmed when the Swami said something about his heart skipping and about not being able to move. For the first time, it became apparent that he was overexerting himself. Kirtananda thought back through the fall and summer when the Swami had led them on all on hours-long kirtanas in the park or on late evening ventures. They had come to take it for granted, but now Kirtananda saw that there was cause to be worried for Swamiji's health. Swamiji had no appetite for lunch, although by afternoon he regained his appetite in usual activities. That same day, a letter arrived from Mukunda in San Francisco. Not long after their wedding, Mukunda and Janki had left for the West Coast. Mukunda had told Swamiji that he wanted to go on to India to study Indian music, but after a few weeks in southern Oregon, he had ended up in San Francisco. Now he had a better idea. He wanted to rent a place and invite Swamiji to come and start his Hare Krishna movement in the Haight Ashbury district, just as he was doing on the Lower East Side. He said that the prospects there for Krishna consciousness were very good. On hearing this, Prabhupada began unfolding his expansive plans. They should open temples not only in San Francisco, but one by one all over the world, even in Russia and China, and print the Bhagavad Gita in different languages. And he would translate all the volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam into English and take a party of devotees back to India. The devotees who heard him were amazed. Kirtananda, who had seen the alarming symptoms of Prabhupada's ill health, began to forget what he had thought earlier that morning. If Krishna desired, Kirtananda thought, Swamiji could do anything. When Prabhupada came down to hold his morning class on November 19, he carried a large red book instead of the usual brown one. But no one noticed the difference. He began, as always, softly singing prayers to his spiritual master and accompanying himself with a faint rhythm on his bongo. The neighbors were still asleep. The weather was cold, but the steam radiators kept the storefront warm. There would be no more outdoor chanting now. In Manhattan, the city opens wide in the summer and shuts tight in the winter, which for the evening classes meant no more noisy children outside the door. And although the morning classes had always been quiet even in the summer, now, with the winter approaching, the group became a tighter, more committed core of sincere students coming together to hear Swamiji speak. It was now 4 months since he began ISKCON at 26 Second Avenue. He had held three separate initiations and initiated 19 devotees. Most of them had become serious, although few remained casual visitors. Now, in these morning classes, Swamiji wanted to instruct them more about how to become devotees. He led the chanting of Hare Krishna for 20 minutes, cautioning them to respond softly so that the neighbors would not pour water through the ceiling again, although they had not done it lately. Prabhupada always tried to cooperate with the tenants, but occasionally someone would start a petition, which never amounted to much, against the devotees. Sometimes Prabhupada would help the landlord, Mr. Chote, by taking out other tenants' garbage or just giving him a hand. Mr. Chute was a husky, beer-bellied, Polish refugee who lived alone in an apartment on the first floor. Mr. Chute respected the Swami for his age and scholarship, and Swamiji was always amiable with him. Whenever Mr. Chute came to the apartment, he would never take his shoes off, and Prabhupada would always say, "That's all right, that's all right." And at one time, when the plumbing didn't work in Prabhupada's apartments, Prabhupada went downstairs and took a shower in Mr. Chute's apartment. But Swamiji considered Mr. Chute a classic example of foolish materialist because although he had spent his life savings to buy this building, he still had to work so hard. Swamiji said he was a fool for having spent his savings to buy such a run-down building because the building was in such a poor condition. He had to work like an ass to keep it up. This is how the materialists work, Swamiji would say. Mr. Chute, although respectful to the Swami, didn't like the devotees. Prabhupada told his disciples, "Treat him as if he were your father." So that's what they did. Anytime they would have to deal with Mr. Chute, they would approach him saying, "We are your sons." Those disciples who lived in the store at the storefront had risen by 6:30, bathed, and assembled downstairs by 7, while those who lived outside were arriving separately, taking off their coats and piling them on the shelf of the display window. Although women always attended the evening meetings, Jadu Rani was usually the only girl who came in the morning. After breakfast, she would begin painting upstairs in the Swami's front room. She used the beginner's techniques of dividing the canvas into vertical and horizontal grid lines and transporting bit by bit um, the corresponding sections of a photograph onto the canvas. The process was painstaking, and sometimes her painting was out of proportion, but Jadurani was sincere, and that pleased Prabhupada. She had completed several paintings of four-armed Vishnu, a new painting of Radha Krishna, and a painting of Lord Chaitanya and his associates. When the painting of Lord Chaitanya was finished, Swamiji had hung it up in the temple. "Now," he announced, "there should be no more nonsense here. Lord Chaitanya is present." After the morning kirtana, Swami said as usual, "Now chant one round." They chanted together, following him. They all had a vow to chant 16 rounds daily, but they chanted their first round in the morning in the Swami's presence, so he could see each of them. As Swamiji chanted, he looked out at the Second Avenue, which was mostly deserted, or at the pictures on the wall, or with concerned glances at the individual devotees. Sometimes he seemed surprised when he saw them chanting so earnestly, giving evidence of the power of the holy name to deliver even the most fallen. Some of the devotees kept their beads in a bead bag like his. But when they chanted the first round together in the morning, they imitated him by holding their beads out in both hands and chanting along with him, "Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare," until they finished one round. Then he held up unfamiliar red book. "Because you are little advanced," he said, "I am going to read today from Chaitanya Charitamrita." Chaitanya? What? No one was able to pick up the pronunciation. They had heard of Chaitanya, certainly, but now not of this new book. But in his room the night before, Prabhupada had informed some of the devotees that he would start reading from a new book, Chaitanya Charitamrita. He said the Lord Chaitanya had told one of his disciples that understanding Krishna wasn't really possible, but he would give the disciples just a drop of the ocean of Krishna consciousness so that the disciple could then appreciate what the whole ocean must be like. "Be patient as I present this," he had told them. "It is revolutionary, but you should just be patient." In the storefront, Brahmananda turned on the reel-to-reel tape recorder as Swamiji began reading the Bengali verses, and both Satyaswarupa and Umapati opened their notebooks and waited, poised for rapid note-taking. It was almost a college classroom atmosphere as Prabhupada cleared his throat, put on his eyeglasses, and peered over the large open volume, turning to the correct page. Whenever he wore the glasses, it seemed to reveal a new personality of deep Vaishnava scholarship. This feature of Swamiji emphasized his old age, not that it showed him feeble or invalid, but it emphasized his scholarship and wisdom and his contemplation of the scriptures. in contrast to his vigorous drum playing in Tompkins Square Park or his alert business dealings while looking for a new building. Swamiji began reading and translating the story of Sanatana. Satyaswarupa wrote Sutta and Umapati wrote Sonotan, and his brother Rupa, and how they became intimate associates of Lord Chaitanya. It was a historical account. Rupa and Sanatana had been born as Brahmanas in India, but they had served in the government under the Muslims, who were in power at that time. The two brothers had even adopted Muslim names. But when the Lord Chaitanya was touring in their part of the country, they had met him and had become determined to give up their materialistic ways and follow his path of pure love of God. Rupa, who was so rich that he had enough gold to fill two boats, left his high government post, divided his wealth, became a mendicant, and joined Lord Chaitanya. For Sanatana, however, there were more obstacles. Should I continue, Prabhuji?
Yeah, Mataji. 625.
Sure. The Nawab Shah, the chief Muslim ruler of the province of Bengal, was dependent on Sanatana's managerial expertise, but Sanatana began staying home and submitting sick reports, while actually he had employed a dozen of Brahmanas who were teaching him the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Nawab sent his physician to find out the actual state of Sanatana's health. And when the Nawab heard that Sanatana was not actually ill, he himself arrived one day, surprising Sanatana and the Brahmanas. The Nawab demanded that Sanatana return to his government work and leave him free to do some hunting and to leave Bengal on a military campaign. But Sanatana said that he could not, that he was now determined to study the scriptures and that the Nawab could do with him whatever he liked. At this challenge, the Nawab imprisoned Sanatana. Swamiji looked at his watch. The morning classes were shorter than those in the evening, only half an hour, and Rupa Nuga, Swatswarupa, and Brahmananda had to go to work. He paused in his narration. So we will discuss this tomorrow. Prabhupada closed the book, and after a few informal words, he got up and left the storefront, followed by Kirtananda, who carried his book in classes. Breakfast was served every morning in the storefront. Either Achyutananda or Kirtananda would cook an oatmeal cereal for the devotees. Satyaswarupa had read in an English edition of the Ramayana about some sages preparing mystical cereal called heavenly porridge. The name had caught on, and devotees began calling their own cereal heavenly porridge. The popular fare would consist of steaming hot heavenly porridge, sweetened to taste with sugar syrup from a gulab jamun pot, hot milk and fruit, and each devotee would get an ISKCON bullet. At breakfast this morning, the talk was of Rupa and Sanatana. Umapati said that Chaitanya Charitamrita was available in an English translation, but maybe the Swami wouldn't want them to read it. Well, we will hear it from Swamiji, Kirtananda said. Hayagriva was amused at the cliffhanger ending of their class. Tune in tomorrow. He laughed loosely. And hear what happened to, what's his name? The devotees respond differently. Santan, Sonotan, Sanatana, Hayagriva. Yeah, tune in tomorrow and hear. Well, will Sanatana get out of jail? They were not the most sober group when together, especially after taking the thick, sweet syrup. Achyutananda spilled some of the spirit on the rug, and Kirtananda admonished him. Jadurani ate silently and hurried to begin a day's painting in Prabhupada's room. Satyaswarupa adjusted his tie, and he and Rupa Nuga and Brahmananda went to their jobs. The next morning, Chaitanya Charitamrita seminar began with Sanatana in jail, planning how to get free to join Lord Chaitanya. His brother Rupa sent him a note saying that he had left a large sum of gold for Sanatana in the care of a grocer, and Sanatana offered the gold to the jailer as a bribe. He told him, Sir, I know you are a very learned man, and you in your Quran it says that if you aid someone in going to spiritual life, then you will be elevated to the highest post. I am going to Lord Chaitanya, and if you will assist me in escaping, it will be spiritual gain for you. Also, I will give you 500 gold coins, so it will be a material gain as well. The jailkeeper said, All right, but I am afraid of the king. So Sanatana advised him, Just say that when I was passing stool by the river, I fell in with my chains and was washed away. For several hundred gold coins, the jailer agreed to help Sanatana and sawed off the shackles. Sanatana, accompanied by his servant, then fled by the back roads until the night time he came upon a hotel. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Very well. Thank you very much, Mataji. So nice. Everybody is getting ISKCON bullet. ISKCON bullet प्रसादम में भी मिल रहा था और ISKCON bullet डांट में भी मिल रहा था जो नीचे गिरा रहा था उसको. Lot of things reminded of how even today in all this ISKCON temples, of course in our center also, right? It looks like after the class is over, when the prasadam begins, everybody gets in the mood of not so sober mood, right? Everybody is having a nice gala time. So वही चल रहा था यहाँ पे भी. But yeah, like I think there is one point that says, Prabhupada says that hear this Chaitanya Chaitamrit, and it is revolutionary. It is just a drop in Krishna consciousness, but it will help us understand the ocean, and it is going to be revolutionary. We have to be patient with it, right? So, yeah, so similarly, our spiritual journey is also like that. It will be revolutionary if we are patient. And like actually tying back to what Chaitanya Prabhu was mentioning the other day, right? So there are different phases. There is a revolutionary phase, and we initially come in, a lot of excitement. Oh, this kirtan is amazing. Oh, this prasadam is amazing, right? There is a revolutionary. We want to do more and more. And then there comes a phase where things kind of mellow down and stabilize, the evolutionary phase. But that is a phase we have to be really patient, because yeah, we see a lot of people come. They come for a week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 2 months, few months, and then kind of taper off, right? But yeah, we have to be patient, stick with it, stick with the process, because the process works. Process has worked for many millions and millions of sages who have come before us and who have perfected their lives. But yeah, when we stick to the process and follow in the footsteps of a pure devotee, then the revolution again begins, right? So I think that's what Prabhupada is talking about here. You have to be patient. It's going to be revolutionary. So it's so nice. He's starting a new book, and we see he's starting this book. He's saying, now that you're a little advanced, so we can hear from Chaitanya Chaitanya. So when we are a little advanced, then we can advance from graduate study of Bhagavad Gita to postgraduate study of Bhagavatam. Now he has taken them directly to the PhD. Yeah. Okay. Any other thoughts, comments from today's reading? Anything, Meenu Mataji, that you liked from today's reading? If you're speaking, you're on mute.
Prabhuji, you summarized it really well. So, yes, thank you.
What about Sanatan? Sanatan Goswami को भी हंसी आ रही होगी अभी अगर वो सुन रहे होंगे तो.
Yeah, that was. But, something to be taken away from that it didn't matter. It does not matter where we come from, what our language is. Even now, we have hard time sometimes pronouncing words from like a southern dialect or other languages as well, right? So we are one of those people as well. So they put in an effort to learn. That's what is commendable here, that whether they could or not, they did try, and that's how they got to be where they are now, or they were, right? So yes, so we have to continue to improve ourselves and better ourselves, no matter how many the obstacles are. So that's what my takeaway is from that.
Yes. And they were studious. They were taking notes.
Yes.
Of course, in those days, there were no cell phones. There was no YouTube. So yeah, they were like college. It was like a college atmosphere, like it was said. And they were very curious to learn, eager to learn, and like I said, eager to improve day by day. Yeah. Steady progress, right? It's not going to be revolutionary every day. But yeah, we have to stick to the process bit by bit every day. But yeah, they were learning. Yes. Okay, anybody else would like to share anything that they learned today? or anything that they loved today from today's reading?
Yes, Prabhuji, I like that slowly after Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada introduced Chaitanya Charitamrita because they have never heard the name of Chaitanya. So that was, they didn't know how to pronounce it also. So how he brought this beautiful Chaitanya Charitamrita into existence, and how he preached about Sanatan and Rupa Raghunath. So nice it was about it, and how much of, I mean, how rich they were. In spite of that, they stuck to this process of serving the Lord, and how Krishna's Namamrita will help us to elevate in this, and we have to stick to this Hare Krishna's Mahamantra, and how one has to progress in his spiritual path. That is the one thing I liked it, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, they were just following the instructions of their guru, right? So they didn't do anything what he didn't ask them to do. Like, even I think there was that conversation they were happening, right? They were saying, oh, this book is wonderful. There is also an English version of it. Maybe we can read, but then they said maybe Swamiji doesn't want us to read it, right? But yeah, they just said, just eager to hear from him next day what happens. So yeah, I think we should also do that. That whatever our Guru Varga have mentioned, at least we should follow those instructions as it is. Thank you, Shama Karuna Mataji. Okay, 6:32. Any final thoughts before we wrap up for today? Hare Krishna to Nidhi Mataji. Good to see her today here on the call.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, and to all the devotees. Prabhu, it's so good to hear about the Srila Prabhupada. I just joined today first time, but yes, it's very nice and inspiring. Like, we can spend our entire day like Prabhupada conscious. And the best thing I like to hear about our Guru Varga, like since the day one, how they were like committed to their Guru, and their Guru Nistha is the one we should learn, and we should have that Nistha for our Guru. And all the Guru Varga, like they're all same, but this is what we should learn from all the Guru Varga.
Nidhi Mataji ki nishtha ki jai. Very nice thought. Thank you, Mataji, for sharing that. Yes, absolutely. If we can have that one drop of nishtha, and we will have that by the mercy of our Guru Varga, if we are sincere and we follow their instructions, then they will be pleased, and all the all the preceding Guru Varga, and of course Krishna seated in the heart. He sees our intentions, like we say, the bhava. Just Sadhu Sangha mein Sachidananda Maharaj was saying, right? The bhava, raga and tal, and like Prabhupada was singing yesterday in recording that album, everything was there. The bhava was there, the raga was there, and the tal was there, he was increasing that at the end, the tempo similarly. Yeah, the bhava is what matters, and if we have the bhava, sincerity with which we are doing, then yes, that mercy will come sooner than later. Thank you, Mataji, for sharing that. Okay, with that, we will conclude for today, and we will again look forward to having your association tomorrow. Thank you so much. Once again, we'll end with Vaishnava Pranam prayers. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnavrind ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhupada Leelamrit ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranams, Prabhuji.